Hello. All right. So this is the section 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3. So basically, I'll combine all of these section uh, uh, to a single lecture. And this sections is about the square root. All right. So let's start with a simple example first. So let's say we need to find the square root of 25, which is of course 5, right? Similarly, the square root of this whole thing, 25 over 49. So this whole thing is inside the square root. So this is also a square root of 25 over a square root of 49. So basically we can split this into two terms like this. So square root of 25 is 5, square root of 49 is 7. So yeah, this is the answer. But what about the square root of negative 25 over 49? So again, this whole thing is inside this root. So in this case, we are taking the square root of a negative number, right? Because this thing that is inside the root is a negative, because we have a negative here. This is a negative number. So the square root of a negative number is undefined. All right, so we said there is no real number that exists. Well, later on we'll talk about the imaginary number. Imaginary number, but this is going to be later. All right, so for right now we're just going to say the square root of a negative number is undefined. So that means square root of negative 9 is also undefined. Right, so as long as this negative is inside the root, it's undefined. So that means now if there is minus outside this root, so in this case this minus is outside this root, so in this case, well, we can find it because this is outside, so that doesn't matter because negative is outside. So we're just going to write this negative again here, and the square root of 25 is 5, so it's negative 5. All right. What about now cube root of 8? So the cube root of 8, well, I guess all of you can say the cube root of 8 is 2. But the idea, well, if there is a big number or if there is a complicated number, then the idea here is, so we have cube root of 8. So there is a 3 here. So 8, we can also write 2 to the power 3. All right. So this is in a root form. So this is cube root of 2 to the power 3. So now to find the value of this, you can change a cube root to an exponential form, which is basically 2 to the power, well, this 2 to the power 3, we have it this inside the root. So we're just going to write that here again. And this 3, well, this 3 is the index of this root. So this 3 we write here, right? So this is called index. So whatever number there are here, we are basically going to write on the denominator of this 3 over 3. So this way we get 2 to the power 3 over 3, which is just 2 to the power 1, because 3 and 3 cancels, it's just 1, which is just 2. So that way we get 2. Right, so even let's say 2 to the power, or sorry, the square root of 4, well, we know it's 2, right? Using this idea, square root of 4, or 4 is also 2 to the power 2, is equals to, well, if there is, well, in this case we don't have anything here, right? So if there is nothing here, it's always 2. All right, so if you don't see any index, it's always 2. So that's why 2 to the power to that, well, this thing is, we got it from the inside of this root, 2 to the power 2, and divide this by, well, as I said, there is always 2 here, so we don't have to write that, but there is always 2, so 2 divided by 2, which is again 2. All right, so this is the idea of getting the value of these things. All right. Similarly, what about, let's say, what about now cube root of -8? Can we find the value of this? Well, like I said here, the square root of a negative number is undefined. All right, but what about the cube root here, cube root of a negative number? Well, in this case, well, it's possible. All right, so basically, if you see any odd number here or the index is odd, then the value are possible. So the value of this whole thing is possible. So let's see how this is possible. So basically, or well, 8 or -8 is also same as -2 times -2 times -2, right? Because let's say -2 and -2 is negative times negative, it's obviously positive, right? So -2 times -2 is +4 times -2, right? And again, 4 and -2 is -8, right? So that means if we multiply this -2 3 times, like we did here, -2 times -2 times -2, it's -8. That's what we got here. So -8 is also, since we have this -2 3 times, we can also say -8 is also equals to -2 to the power 3, right? Because that's what we did here. So when you come back to this, now we can say square root of -8 is also -2 to the power 3. So -2 to the power 3. So this way we get -2 to the power 3. This is the thing we have inside the root, this root. So again, the index is 3, so we can divide this 3 by whatever the index is there. So divide 3 over 3. So that's why we get -2. All right. So like I said, if there is a negative number there, you can always find the value, or if there is an index is odd number. Sorry, if the index is odd number, then you can always find the value. All right. So now, if this is the case, then what about now? What about, let's say, square root of 6 times y to the power 2? So again, this whole thing is inside this root. So again, in this case, we can split this into 2 parts. Square root of 16 times square root of 4 square. So square root of 16 is 4. Square root of y square is, again, if we use this idea I showed here, well, we can say that well, even though we don't see anything here, it's always 2, right? So y square, this thing that is inside the root, y square, and you can divide this 2 on the top by another 2 here, because the index here is 2, so 2 over 2, right? So this way we get 4 times y, right? Because 2 over 2 is 1, so just 4y. All right, similarly, another one, let's do it here. Okay, let's do another, okay, let's do something like this. So here, the problem, okay, so here this is again with the root. So it is asking you to get a terms without any root. So we don't want any root. So without root, just like I did here on the top, again you can write whatever we have inside the root, x squared, and we can divide this 2 on the top by the index number. So again, the index number here is 3, so 2 over 3. So that way we get rid of the root. All right, so we can also say this if we have this. Okay, now let's say we want to, or yeah, let's say something like this. Now we have the index 4, so the fourth root of a is a squared. So this is also, you can say a squared, that is inside the root, and divide this 2 on the top by the index number 4. So a to the power 2 over 4 is also 1 over 2, right? So this way we get rid of the root. All right, now okay, so now let's do this one. So let's say we want to find the cube root of x to the power 5. So we can also say this x to the power 5, that is inside, well, this thing we have, well, this is the thing inside the root, and again we can divide this 5 by this index number, which is x to the power 5 over 3, right? So this way we can get rid of the root. Now you can also say, okay, so if a problem is asking you to simplify, so whenever the problem asks you to simplify, you don't want to write anything like this on the or any fraction on the top. So the way to well, now when the problem is asking to simplify this thing without any fraction on the power, then this way, well, for this one you have to basically, so okay, so here we have 3, right? So 3, so x to the power 5, you can also write x to the power 3 times x to the power 2, right? Because if we have same base, then we can combine this to a single base and just add the number or add the power. So 3 plus 2 is 5. So basically you can write x to the power 5 as x to the power 3 times x to the power 2. All right, and the reason I'm doing this is since I have 3 here, so if I get the power 3, then this way I can cancel those two. So now after this, well, after this, now you can say, well, you can split this into 2 parts, right? Cube root of x to the power 3 times cube root of x squared. So again, cube root of x to the power 3 is x to the power 3 divided by this 3 times, okay, so now for this one, since you will be getting something like this with the fraction on the top, so if you're simplifying, in this case, just leave it like this. You don't have to do anything. All right, so since you will get a fraction, so yeah, so just leave it like this. So this one is just x times cube root of x squared. All right. All right, so I'll be talking more about these kind of thing on the next lecture, but Basically, the idea for 6.1, 6.2, and 6.3 are something like this. So, yeah, I'll talk more about this in the next lecture. Thank you.